It talks to us. We all need to have a balanced approach towards life. I'm sure all of you will agree that right now, the way your life is, it gets consumed in one direction, isn't it? Once you lift Instagram, you're gone. After 2, 3 hours, you come out. Once you get into maybe some sports, it is gone, consumed by it for a few hours, especially PUBG and video games. Same thing with work also. Even work would consume you quite a bit. So the nature of most people is when they get into one thing, they just get so deep into something that they come out only after a long period of time. This includes overthinking. Start thinking, and then you start thinking in one direction, another direction. It just goes on and on and on. In a few hours, it's just gone and worrying and anxiety, isn't it? So I'm going to share with you all a very simple thought on how to achieve balance in four important quotients of life. These are called the PQ, EQ, IQ, and SQ. PQ stands for physical quotient. I'm not here to talk to you all about exercise. I'm not here to talk to you all about diet. I'm not here to talk to you all about veganism or anything else, keto diet, or that's not what I'm going to talk about in physical quotient. Many of the things what is known about physical quotient, like going to a gym, doing exercise, 10,000 steps of walk, that everyone knows. I'm going to talk to you about something that many people will not talk to you about. Probably no one will talk to you about this, except maybe your parents. Physical quotient is incomplete without discussing sleep. How many of you sleep well? Please put up your hand. Okay, that's very good. And how many of you have very disturbed sleep or less sleep? Please put up your hands. Okay, it's good. Thank you for being honest. Sleep today is is um is not a luxury, but it's become a desperate need. Most people are struggling with getting good quality sleep. Unfortunately, there is a set of people that believe that overworking, that means burning the midnight oil, is considered to be very good. But let me tell you, that is an illusion. I'm going to talk to you all about some scientific understanding of sleep. And what I'm going to tell you will really shake you up. These are statistics, these are hard facts that I'm going to be sharing with all of you. In our system, we have two types of major factors that determine the quality of your sleep. The first major factor that determines the quality of your sleep is something known as circadian rhythm. Circadian rhythm is a body clock based on which you fall asleep at a particular time every day and you wake up at a particular time every day. It's called a rhythm because it forms a cyclic rhythm in your life. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't allow it to be a cyclic rhythm. Get up anytime, sleep anytime. The body is confused. Am I awake? Am I asleep? So, but if somebody follows the circadian rhythm well, exactly at the same time you'll get up every day. There was a point in time when I used to follow a circadian rhythm of 4:20 a.m. I would get up at 4:20 without alarm, without any kind of external intervention, exactly at that same time. I'm sure all of you would have experienced something like this, right, in your lives? The second thing that influences your sleep is known as Sleep pressure. Sleep pressure is induced by a chemical which is known as adenosine. Adenosine is called a sleep chemical. So the moment you wake up in the morning, adenosine starts getting released into your brain. And adenosine level keeps increasing. At some point, it creates such a pressure in your mind that you have to go to sleep. Yeah, you feel that desperate pressure, right? That's called sleep pressure. And that comes only when adenosine reaches a particular level in your brain. But we all do some really funny things. And one of the funny things that we do is called drink coffee. You know what coffee does to your adenosine, this sleep pressure cycle? Coffee, one glass of coffee, it presses a mute button to the release of adenosine for 5 to 6 hours. So the moment you drink one glass of coffee, for the next 5 to 6 hours, no release of adenosine happens, which means you're delaying the sleep pressure by close to 5 to 6 hours. Now imagine you drink a cup of coffee at 8 o'clock in the night. Now obviously, where are you going to get sleep? Till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, you're roaming around like ghosts, basically. This is one of the most powerful elements of what is called as a disruptive sleep cycle. Unfortunately, coffee is considered cool, especially in America, right? You can drink coffee provided you drink before lunch. Anytime you start drinking coffee post lunch, post 3 p.m., please remember it's going to affect your sleep cycle very badly. And why is sleep cycle so important? Every single thing in your life, including your ability to be innovative, your ability to get new ideas, your ability to hold good relationships, your ability to think logically, every single thing in your life is connected to the quality of your sleep. I don't know how many of you have heard of this term called microsleep. Have you heard of this term called microsleep? Microsleep is a very interesting phenomenon. I'm going to tell you what microsleep is, and then I'm going to ask you all whether you'll have experienced microsleep. If you've experienced anything like that, please let me know, okay? Microsleep is a phenomenon by which your entire body shuts down for 1 second randomly. It could happen in the middle of driving a car. While you're driving a car on the highway, for 1 or 2 seconds, shut down. You don't even know where you are for the 1 2 seconds. It could be while hearing a lecture. It could be while talking to someone on the phone. It could be while doing some activity. Microsleep is something that shows chronic sleep deprivation. 1 or 2 seconds, complete shutdown of the body. You don't even realize where you are. Has anyone experienced microsleep? Please put up your hand. Or most of you all. Wonderful. By the way, there are more accidents that happen due to microsleep than due to drunk driving. Everywhere there is advertisements put, not to drink and drive, isn't it? Have you ever seen advertisements put that said sleep sufficiently and drive? You can actually prevent more accidents simply by sleeping well. Not just accidents. There was a calculation done of what is the kind of loss that companies have when employees don't sleep sufficiently. And the numbers came to the extent of $50 million per year loss due to employees not sleeping sufficiently. How is it a loss? It's loss of creativity, loss of focus, loss of good relationships, so many levels, simply because you've not slept sufficiently. So the next time you think of doing an all-nighter, I want you to remember one fact. one night lack of sleep, if you don't sleep one full night, the amount of time your body takes to recover one night's lack of sleep is equal to 1 year. Now you tell me how many nights you have not slept in a year. When we keep decreasing our sleep on a daily basis, we are creating what is known as sleep deprivation. And that comes out in the form of microsleep. So body has its own way of taking sleep. It falls sick. That's one way of taking sleep. It goes into these microsleep points. That's another way of taking sleep. So body finds its own ways of getting sleep that it wants, the quota of sleep that it wants. So instead of going by the tough way, might as well prioritize it. According to Ayurveda, 9 p.m. to 12 p.m., these 3 hours of sleep at night, 1 hour of sleep is equivalent to 2 hours of rest. So 9 to 12, if you're sleeping for 3 hours, you're actually getting 6 hours of rest for the body. 12 to 3, 3 hours, those 3 hours, 1 hour, 1 hour of sleep is equal to 1 hour of sleep. That means 12 to 3, if you're sleeping, you get 3 hours of sleep. 3 to 6, 1 hour of sleep is equal to half an hour of sleep. That means if you're sleeping from 3 to 6 a.m., you're actually getting 1.5 hours of rest. And 6 a.m. onwards, all sleep is equal to no sleep, literally, in terms of the body actually getting its rest. So, the earlier we sleep, the better it is for the system to adjust and to have its quota of rejuvenation. I really want you all to think about this. If you want to live healthy and happy lives, please get a control of your sleep and don't allow anyone to disturb your sleep at night. There are some people who are very active at night. They get extra active only, you know. Please tell people that your sleep is important for you. Tell them that they also should sleep. All day is there to talk. But in the night, please ensure that you get good quality sleep. I'm telling you, if you sincerely follow what I'm saying, the advice that I've given you all, for 1 month, you will find a major difference in your health. You'll find a major difference in the way you think. You'll find a major difference in the way you behave with people. Your anger levels, your anxiety levels, so many levels will actually find a solid impact simply by sleeping well. That's my, and of course, the next time you meet someone, instead of asking, how are you? You can ask them, how did you sleep? Because it's a very important parameter to determine how a person actually is, isn't it? The second thing I would like to speak to you all is about EQ, which is emotional quotient. What is emotional quotient? All of us, we have a lot of emotions, isn't it? But most people don't know how to handle their emotions. And it is very interesting that a lot of our success in life depends on our ability to handle our emotions and other people's emotions. In my life, I've been guiding a lot of youngsters. And some of the youngsters that I've been guiding are from really prestigious universities and colleges across the world. And what I find in many of them is that very highly talented people, but unfortunately, they don't have strong emotional quotient, which is why they can solve any technical problem. But when it comes to human problems, they struggle. They can solve any problem that you give them on paper. But you send a person next to them, that's when they start struggling. Talent is what schools and colleges teach us. But schools and colleges don't teach us how to handle emotions. Have you ever come across a subject on how to handle your emotions in your schools and colleges? Unfortunately, the reality of life is this is one of the most important needs in today's world. There was once a survey done. This was a long survey, almost a 25-year long survey, one of the longest surveys in history. And this survey was of for 300, 400 people who had IQ levels above 150. Anybody here was IQ level above 150? Imagine, our average IQ level is about 70. If you're really good, it's about 90. 150 is like way, way beyond genius, isn't it? They studied 300, 400 people across the world who had IQ levels above 150 to 200. Obviously, if you come across such people who have such high IQ levels, what do you expect? You expect them to be the richest people in the world, isn't it? But the most amazing thing about this survey was most of them, a lot of them, almost half of them didn't make it in life. They hardly managed to make ends meet. How can someone with IQ level above 150 not make it in life? Struggle for basic things in life. They were bewildered. Surveyors were totally bewildered. And they wanted to find out what is going on here. How can someone with such high IQ levels be struggling? So what they did was, this survey was a very closely monitored survey. In fact, they had people staying in their homes also to figure out what exactly happens in homes of such brilliant minds. One person who had IQ level above 200, this man, he hardly made it in life. And when they dug deeper to find out exactly what happened because of which he could not make it, they realized the biggest problem was this man did not know how to confront others. I'll tell you what I mean. There was a school this person was going to, and his mother, so his father died when he was young, and his mother could not pay the school fees on time. And because she could not pay the school fees on time, the school asked him to leave. Now, there are a lot of children whose parents are not able to pay the school fees on time. What happens in such cases? The parents simply go and ask for an extension. Give us some more time. And then usually the school gives a little more time. But in this particular case, the mother did not go to ask for an extension. And this boy he didn't know how to ask for an extension. Simply because he did not have an authority figure in his life who taught him to ask. Eventually, he got into college. And while he was in college, he was doing a job to make ends meet. And he simply wanted a night college, permission to attend college at night. He just couldn't go and ask for that permission. And as a result, he had to drop out from college. Never got to complete his degree. Now imagine, these are very simple things, not really big things. But these simple things, when they are not taught properly, when you don't have enough emotional support, enough love in your childhood, it manifests as lack of confidence. It manifests as emotional weakness when you grow up as adults. There are a lot of adults today who are intellectually very strong, but emotionally very weak. This has developed very strongly, but this is underdeveloped. And that is why they crumble when there is pressure. That is why they crumble when there is any kind of stress. They crumble when it comes to issues in relationships. They just don't know how to handle it. And that's why many times when I go to these really these universities, I begin my talk by saying some of the most things that you can have. Talent is one of the most useless things you can have. Because talent help you solve, help you open the first door to success. Talent can help you open the second door to success. Talent can help you open the third door to success. But talent can never help you open the final door to success. Because the final door to success is not opened by talent, it is opened by good attitude, which is what emotional quotient is all about. I highly recommend all of you to spend some time on a daily basis beyond books and study people. Your greatest success in life will not happen based on what knowledge you have. It will be based on what kind of people that you are interacting with. And I'll tell you a story, very interesting and a very intriguing story. This will talk to you about how powerful emotional quotient is. There was one man who shifted from Italy to America. He got a job in America, settled down here. He came from a small village in Italy. When he got this job in America and settled down, he called one of his friends from the same village. This guy came, stayed with him, got a job in America, settled down. Then they called a third friend. Then they called a fourth friend. Slowly, one entire village shifted from Italy to America. And one street, entire street in America was filled with Italians from the same village. In fact, in that street, all shops they had boards in Italy, Italian language. That's not the funny thing, and that's not the interesting thing. The interesting thing is that 50 years later, a group of surveyors found out that for the last 50 years, in this street in America, not a single person got heart attack. In 50 years, not a single person had any heart ailment. In 50 years, they were zapped. They went to find out how come nobody in the street had any heart issues. They did extensive research, every possible parameter to figure out what is going on. They compared the pollution levels of that particular street to all other parts of America. They compared the food habits. They compared smoking habits. They compared drinking habits. They compared, economic situations. Practically everything they could think of, they compared. Exercise routines, practically everything. After so much of research, they couldn't figure out what these guys are doing different. They were at their wits' end because everything that a normal American is doing, these people also doing the same thing. Normal Americans are smoking this many cigarettes, these guys also smoking. Normal Americans are eating burgers and pizza, these guys also eating. Normal Americans are sleeping for this many hours, these fellow. Everything seemed similar. They couldn't figure out what is different in these guys. And then they found out the most shocking difference. You know what is the only difference they found out? Which resulted in an entire street filled with people where no one had heart attacks or any heart ailments. They found out that all of them knew each other. That's all. Think about it. How many of your neighbors do you know? It's a major difference in the way you look at life if you simply understand this one thing. Simply by having a heart to heart connect with other human beings, you can be healthy in life. Simply by having a community of people who think similar, you can be healthy in life. You can live longer. You can be more, successful. Does MBA teach you this? Interestingly, our management degrees and our, colleges and schools, they don't teach us how to live life. They teach us how to make money, but they forget to teach us how to live life. And therefore, these two things I spoke to you about, physical quotient and emotional quotient. First, spend time getting good sleep. Second, spend time developing heart-to-heart relationships with at least a few people in your life. At least with a few people on a daily basis, you must develop connections. You must learn to deal with your emotions in a better way. The third thing I would like to share with you all is called intellectual quotient. I already told you all that IQ is not everything, right? But what exactly is IQ and what is the benefit of IQ for me? In my understanding, IQ means the ability to become a better version of yourself. Most people in this world connect IQ with talent. But I feel, and I connect with IQ, the understanding that I have is that IQ is supposed to help you evolve as a human being overall. When you read a book, you evolve a little bit. Every book that you read, you become one notch higher. Unfortunately, we are all in a world of Netflix and Prime, isn't it? OTT platforms. You know what these OTT platforms do to us? It dumbs us. It stops us from thinking. When we keep watching, we don't have to think. We don't have to imagine. We just have to see. But when you read a book, you have to imagine a lot. You have to use your intelligence a lot. You have to use your brain capacity a lot. And that is why people don't read. Why people don't read? Because they don't like to use their brains. Because using your brain is exhausting. Using a brain is tiring. So they reserve the brain only for those activities that they have no option but to do it. An exam comes, brain will be used little bit. After exam is over, brain goes for a break. When your office deadline comes, then brain will be used a little bit. On a daily basis, we don't want to use our brains. I don't know if you have observed this, On a daily basis, we do not want to do any activity where you have to use your brains. In fact, any activity that you have to use your brains, you put it last. All activities where you don't have to use your brains, you want to do first. Have you all observed this? Simply because there is something known as intellectual laziness that has crept up in society today. I highly recommend all of you to get into this habit of reading on a daily basis. Please pick up a book and read on a daily basis. We all invest in so many things in life. We invest in gadgets. We invest in, cars. We invest in houses. We invest in good clothes. We invest in grooming, beauty salons and spas. We invest in so many aspects of life. We invest in holidays. We invest in food. We invest in so many aspects of life. But you know what? How much do we invest in ourselves? Do we ever invest in our own growth? Unfortunately, we don't invest in ourselves. We invest in everything around us and things that belong to us, but we don't invest in ourselves. Every human being should get themselves an alteration tailor. I'll explain what I mean by alteration tailor. I don't know. Do you all know what an alteration tailor is, first of all? Sometime back in India, there used to be alteration tailors. Before the world of ready-made clothes came, Even when you buy ready-made clothes, they don't fit you perfectly, isn't it? They may fit you, but it's not perfect fit. But if you take your clothes to an alteration tailor, they take measurements and they will make a small alteration, a small cut over here, a small nip over there, a small stitch over there. And then you wear the same cloth, it fits much better. It feels perfect fit. So we all need an alteration tailor in our lives. We're all good, but we can become better. We need someone who can help us nip a little ego here, add a little bit of, confidence over there. So just small changes. The alteration tailor does not change the whole cloth. The alteration tailor does not change everything. The alteration tailor makes a small little change. And that small little change makes a major difference in the way you are. And today, the word for alteration tailor is mentor, coach, guide, guru, teacher. Someone who can spend time with you, understand you, and help you become a better version of yourself. That's what IQ is all about. Intellectual quotient means invest in your personal growth. And no matter what, on a daily basis, we must grow and reach to the next level. I have developed an entire mentorship program. I've been coming across so many youngsters, especially young professionals working in different organizations, who have got into the company, but they're struggling to go to the next level. They got into the company, struggling to deal with office politics. They got into the company, but they're struggling to deal with work pressure. So many things. I've developed a whole mentorship course, which is a 1-year course for all those who are working professionals to help shape their lives. I'll talk about this a little later. But ideally, every one of you must spend time investing in yourself. Find a coach, find a mentor, find a guru, read books. Every single day, grow a little bit more. Don't remain contented with what school and colleges given you. What school and college has given you is talent. But talent is not enough to be successful. You also need to learn attitude. You also need to learn, the way to deal with your own emotions. And that's when you become more complete and you can become more successful. So I spoke to you all about PQ, physical quotient. I spoke to you about EQ, emotional quotient. And I spoke to you all about IQ, intellectual quotient. Now I'm going to speak to you all about SQ, which is spiritual quotient. Spiritual quotient is about asking ourselves the why questions of life. Most of us are very comfortable in answering how and what. How to do something, what to do. These are very comfortable questions that most people are answering. But spiritual quotient is about the why questions, which are very tough questions to answer. Why means it goes a little deeper into the purpose behind what you're doing, why you're doing what you're doing. For example, why are you here in this class? Why would you come here for a spiritual satsang or a spiritual class? Simply because there is something inside you that is inspiring you to seek answers to deeper questions in life. Why am I here? What is the purpose of my existence? What is the purpose of this world? Does God exist? So many of these deeper questions of life that you don't normally get answers to are answered through spiritual quotient. Spiritual quotient also defines your value systems. Education is complete when you have knowledge, skills, and values. Knowledge and skills, colleges teach you. But values, hardly anyone teaches you. Your parents, in the beginning, they would have tried to teach you. But after you turned 13, they would have given up. Isn't it? Because they feel that you have found your own value systems. But all of us need reshaping of our values, reshaping of our belief systems, reshaping of what we strongly believe in. That's where spiritual quotient comes in. where you logically and systematically explore the deeper aspects of life. And you know what? The amazing thing about spiritual quotient is when you when your spiritual quotient becomes very strong, you become very, very powerful in all other aspects of life. You become very disciplined, you become very self-controlled, make the right choices in life, you attract the right kind of people in your life, you develop the right intuitions in your life. So many aspects of life get affected simply if you become spiritually strong. And therefore, we have created forums like this, where we invite like-minded people like you to come and explore a little bit about spiritual quotient. Coming to these programs is almost like um, getting your dose of vaccination on a regular basis. There's so much of propaganda going on around us, isn't it? There is so much of strange things going on, especially in the land of America. Lot of strange ideas. Every day one new strange idea comes up. How do you counter all these ideas? Unless you are convinced from within. For you to be convinced from within, you have to become rock solid inside. And that's what spiritual quotient does. Spiritual quotient gives you conviction beyond doubt. Spiritual quotient gives you conviction that is inspiring. Spiritual quotient gives you the strength to say no to temptations. Spiritual quotient gives you the ability to say yes to the right things and the ability to say no to the wrong things. All this requires a lot of guts and a lot of strength, especially if you're living in a land of America, it's a land of freedom, nobody to ask you anything, nobody around you to monitor. You you all need a lot of strength. And I can very well see that. So please take these classes seriously and take your personal spiritual practices seriously because these are what is going to save you and what is going to keep you on track. There are hundreds of youngsters who come from the land of India here in America thinking that they'll make their careers, they'll make their dreams. But so many of them have completely lost it and they're not really made it at all in life simply because somewhere on the path they have lost focus. Spiritual quotient will keep you grounded and will keep you rooted to what you have come here for. And will give you a sense of purpose in achieving so much, but with integrity and spending with compassion. Earn with integrity and spend with compassion. That should be the way of looking at life. So these four aspects, uh, physical quotient, I spoke about specifically about sleep. Uh, Emotional quotient, I specifically spoke about developing your own emotions, the ability to understand your emotions, and the ability to understand other people's emotions, and develop some deep connections with a few people at least in your life. Intellectual quotient, I spoke to you about the importance of finding some mentor, some alteration tailor who can help you shape your lives, and the importance of investing in books, investing in courses, investing in your own self growth, beyond investing in all the material things that you can think of to pamper yourself. And then finally, I spoke about the spiritual quotient, which is going deeper into the why of life and taking up some spiritual practices that will keep you very grounded and solidly in touch with what your purpose of life is. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Sleep, right? Nice research in the morning. So, let's talk about like afternoon sleep. Is it healthy to sleep in the afternoon for a bit?
See, basically, sleep has to be according to pressure. So that means when your body is desperate, it will tell you, it will give you signs. That time, listen to it. So if your body is desperate for a short nap somewhere in between the day, you can take. Just make sure it's a short nap. Because if that nap becomes long, then it'll affect your night sleep. But if it is a power nap, it will definitely help you rejuvenate. In fact, many times, what I've realized also is that when you are thinking of something, when you need an idea, just not getting an idea, go to sleep for 10 minutes. When you wake up, you'll get an idea. So sleep has some very mystical elements in it. So we don't understand how interesting sleep can work. So basically, use sleep, don't get used by sleep. Okay. Yes. Yeah, she has a question.
Spoke you spoke hello.
Yeah.
You spoke a little about the emotional quotient side and you talked about the calculation. But I was curious if you have any techniques or frameworks that you can share that can help us develop emotional quotient.
This is a PhD subject. I mean, I do an entire module, 1 month course on developing your emotional quotient. Because, see, it is not an easy thing, right? It's not, it's not like I give you like a quick tip on how to develop your emotions. It doesn't work like that. It begins with understanding your own emotions. And to understand your own emotions, you have to observe yourself. Observe your strengths and weaknesses. Observe your struggles. Observe where your insecurities are coming from. After a lot of observation, then you can come to a point of understanding your emotions. And when you understand your emotions, you become aware of your emotions, then you can manage your emotions better. And then after you understand, become aware and manage your emotions better, then you can understand other people's emotions by observing them. And then you can help them manage their emotions. So that's the series of steps that are involved in developing emotional quotient. It's not an overnight journey. It takes time. But the first step to begin the journey of developing your emotions is first start accepting and understanding your emotions. Start expressing your emotions. So suppose you are feeling sad because of whatever reason. Many times we don't even know what we're feeling. We don't know whether we're feeling sad, angry, there's so many emotions that could potentially be there in us, and we're always confused about what exactly I'm feeling. Start by naming your emotions. That is the first step to deal with your emotions. Become very specific in naming your emotions. Don't say, I think I'm angry. That's not how it works. You have to be very specific. You can't say, I think I'm sad. You have to be very specific. You have to understand, because if you don't understand, who's going to understand? Small children, they cry, isn't it? If a small child is crying, that means something is wrong emotionally, isn't it? And the mother picks up the child and embraces the child. The mother's emotions are very strong and stable, and the child's emotions are very disturbed. But when the mother embraces the child, the mother's strong emotions help the child emotions stabilize. So one person with a strong emotional intelligence can support another person with a weak emotional intelligence. That's what relationships are meant for. But for that one person with weak emotional intelligence to be supported by a person with a strong emotional intelligence, the weak person has to ask help. Right? You can't just assume that somebody will come and help me from the heavens. So these are some basic things that you can start thinking of to develop your emotional quotient. But as I said, it's a long journey. We'll have to really explore, on how we can go deeper into it. Yes.
We were talking about sleep and how 3 hours from 9 to 12 is multiplied by twice. So, if someone who has an occupation that does not allow them to sleep in that time, is this just something that we're talking about regulating sleep? Or is it actually very specific to those hours?
It is very specific to those hours.
So how would someone who's not able to get that kind of sleep?
See, now that person who has a occupation or a job in that particular phase has chosen to take up the job, right? He can always choose not to take up the job also. See, many times we don't realize the impact of our choices. Whatever we choose will have an impact on our lives. You can't say that it will not have no impact. You can talk to any person who has worked in a call center, has worked in a night job for many, many years. They'll tell you what they go through. I have a friend who has worked in a night job for almost 15 years of his life. His entire life is messed up. And those 15 years of his life, he was in a real bad shape. Now, finally, after 15 years, he managed to come out of that cycle and get a regular day job. He's feeling much, much better. Yes.
Following that, there are some people actually in society versus
Yeah. Yeah.
like
See, the point is, even if they are trying to help society, they have to help themselves also. You can't do it on a daily basis. Once a week is fine. But if you start doing it on a daily basis, you're not a superhero. You cannot be a superhero beyond a particular point. Even superheroes have become normal people at some point, isn't it? So I would, I would never recommend anyone to do something on a long-term basis like this. It just doesn't make sense. It is going to affect the quality of your life very badly. Yes.
I have the context for this question. I'm hopefully starting residency next year. So, medical residence life is.
Yeah.
Sleep is not.
Correct.
So for someone who's not having control of that sleep, what is something that they can do to balance that, you said an overnight or 20 hours, so how would you balance?
See, the Mahabharata talks about something known as Apad Dharma. Apad Dharma means emergency duties or emergency religion. So whenever you are in situations of life, which is short duration emergency situation, do whatever needs to be done to handle it. But this should not be your life's long-term way of living. While you are in such a situation of life, make sure that you at least get sufficient sleep as and when possible. That's the least we can do, right? So as and when you get a chance, go to sleep. So, I know how residency works. Might be 36 hours duties or 24 hours duties, whatever. But after that, when they do relieve you, go to sleep. That time, don't think of going on some adventure and all that, That the only thing that you need at that time is just go to sleep, basically. So cut down your social life to minimum, just go to sleep. That would be my advice to you.
So out of all the portions that you covered, you can sleep is the most important.
If you are not having sleep for 36 hours, yes. Nothing else is more important. Okay. Because without sleep, if you go and try to develop a relationship, you'll have fights only. Yes.
You mentioned that one night of not sleeping will take 1 year to recover. So what does that mean?
This is a study done by a sleep scientist who has studied human sleep for over 25 years. This is his analysis, which I'm sharing with you. So what it means is that sleep, when we sleep, the body rejuvenates, right? There are a lot of cells in our body that get created. There is a lot of healing that happens in the body simply when we sleep for the night. When we don't sleep, you are practically postponing an entire activity, or rather, you are, destroying a whole night basically. So the body, obviously, from the next day onwards, it has to do the next day's duties. But that particular night's duty, it gets spread out over a period of 1 year. Whatever healing the body needs to do, basically. That's what it means, basically. Yeah.
When we come to fasting, we get to a particular day sometimes. So does that have the same effect of fasting helps?
Fasting is different. Fasting definitely is recommended also. In fact, all kinds of diets recommend fasting. So fasting is something that is very good. But only thing is, you should know how to fast. And more importantly, how to break the fast. So when you do fasting under guidance, it has very good effects.
Relation with fasting and sleep. I wanted to know.
Between fasting and sleep,
Yeah.
they're two different things. There's no relationship between the two. If fasting is for a different purpose, sleep is for a different purpose. I mean, both are connected to the body only, but they're not integrated. You're talking about particular, like all night they stay awake and do fasting, that kind of thing you're talking about?
Yeah, sometimes like when we are fasting, we see that we don't need that much sleep.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. See, because the body metabolism, one of the reasons the body needs sleep is because it has to, the body has to need energy to digest. It needs energy to recreate, etc. So that sleep is a time when body uses all its energy in that direction. But when you're moving around and a full metabolism is in action, the energy of the body goes in so many other things. During sleep, it gets to do what it has to do. But when you're fasting, first of all, intake is not there. So much of the energy that is needed to consume, to break down the food, all that energy is saved. And that is the reason why when you fast all day long, that night you don't need actually enough that much sleep. That's the reason. Yes. Yeah.
What if someone has been an idol from childhood, but they want to become a money person or to have a emotional balance also, the schedule might prompt it. So what would be in that situation? Because we are habituated to a certain routine and suddenly have to transform into a different.
I would say that you just make a shift by half an hour. So if you are used to waking up at say 7 o'clock, just wake up half an hour early, 6:30. So half an hour is not a very big deal to make a change. So don't try directly waking up at 4:30. It won't happen. Just make a half an hour change. And when you make a half an hour change this side, that side also, sleep also half an hour earlier. So just by making half an hour changes, slowly, your body will get used to it. And you'll reach there.
Second question is about maintaining an emotional balance, because oftentimes we as humans get outbursts, probably due to anger or fear or any kind of negative emotion, and we tend to do certain things which we wouldn't do if we are comfortable with it, and often we regret of doing that in such a way that we shouldn't have suddenly stuff like that. So how to deal with those 5 10 seconds where we are completely out of our emotional balance?
Anger is a result of some unmet need. Whenever you get angry and there's an outburst, you must know that some need of yours is not met. Whenever a need is not met, if it is met, your anger will go away. Like say, for example, when you are hungry, you're not eaten for a long period of time. There's a tendency to get angry more. You eat, you become calm. But there are some wants that also lead to anger, and wants are not met. So now that anger is dangerous. When anger is arising out of needs and being not met, that anger is justifiable because it's a need. But when anger is coming out of a want that is not being met, that anger is dangerous because that is not justifiable. That's the type of anger that you have to really control and deal with better. So if you are getting angry and you're emotionally very agitated, ask yourself what need of mine is not met, and you'll get your answer. Meet that need or want, then you're sorted. But if you realize that that want is very dangerous, then you must refrain from it. You must deal with it better. Okay? Yes.
Thank you for the great session. I have a question like how to measure the progress with spiritual quotient? Like how do we know like the progress is
One of the simplest ways to know that you're progressing spiritually is that you'll be happy. You'll smile a lot. People will realize that you are happy. That's it. And if you're becoming sad, people are coming and asking you why you're not smiling at all, then you should know you're not progressing spiritually. So spiritual progress has to lead to a happy person. That's the sign of spiritual progress.
Thank you.
I have two questions. I'm a student, so I usually have this problem, like after a long day of study or something, like even if I go to sleep early, I don't have, I mean, like I can't sleep for long hours. After like, if I sleep at 9, I usually I usually sleep at 12. So like, is there any tips that you have, like to improve my sleep? And
Yeah.
that's one. Second thing is like my parents, they don't work so much, but they have the same problem. They go to bed early, but they don't sleep. So do you have any tips?
One of the things that you can do before you go to sleep, or rather when you lie down, is read a book. Read something light. So usually what happens is the mind is very, very active. That's the reason you don't get sleep, basically. Reading, it exhausts the mind because there's a lot of processing that happens. So when the mind gets exhausted, then it naturally drifts to sleep, basically. But when you use a screen in night, first of all, in a dark environment using a screen, it activates the mind even more. So rather than getting exhausted, it gets energized, basically, because the mind mistakes the light to be day, and it becomes even more active. But when you're reading a book, it tends to exhaust the mind, and you get better sleep. That's one thing. The second thing that you can do before you go to sleep is either listen to some soothing kirtans or you chant some mantras, which will help you calm your mind down. Some deep breathing. So anything that will get you to a state of calmness. That's what you need to do in the last part of your life. Last few hours, last 1 hour at least, don't get into arguments. Don't get into some, very heavy type of work. Start winding up your day slowly. And you should have some routine, which is a routine that works for you. So you'll have to experiment a little bit and find out. But try the last 1 hour of your day doing some things that will calm you down, right? That will help you get better sleep.
How do you do lot of stuff which consumes a regular ready to the class? I want to understand why does this happen? Is it because I haven't been losing my mental bandwidth and how to overcome it?
See, in nature, everything goes downwards, right? That's the system of nature. Everything goes downwards. So whatever is on top, it will come down. So energy also is like that. So energy, it tends to taper down. So typically, what you use your energy for in the beginning of the day and what you use your energy for in the end of the day will be two different levels of energy. So at the beginning of the day, you will have very high levels of energy. By the end of the day, you'll have very low levels of energy. The idea is when you have the highest level of energy, do the most important things. But the nature of the mind is to push the most important thing for the end. Just like when you have a plate of 10 items of food, you'll eat the sweet in the end. Why? Because you want the best to be in the end, isn't it? While that is good for food, when it comes to work, you should do the opposite. Eat the one that is most difficult, most intense, most energy consuming, most intellectually draining first. Because if you do it first, it'll take you a little more time, but it'll relieve you a lot of your anxiety all day long. Otherwise, if you just keep thinking that I'll do it later, I'll do it later, I'll do it later, and the easy ones I keep doing first. So throughout the day, you have anxiety that I have to do that. This technique is called eat that frog. Frog represents the most ugly thing that you have to do in that day. There will be at least one task which you hate doing, but you have to do. One assignment, hate doing, but you have to do. One phone call, you hate doing, but you have to do. So there'll be that one task. And usually frogs are very ugly and they also take at least 1 hour to consume. That's the definition of a frog. So if you have a task that will take you at least 1 hour to complete and is very, very, dangerous looking, that's your frog. Eat it first. Once you have eaten the frog, everything else seems easy. Isn't it? The problem with most of us is that we want to eat all the easy things first and keep frog in the end. And that frog it doesn't get consumed only that day, then it goes to next day. The next day will be 2 frogs. So it becomes a very complicated situation. So the best way to deal with it is do that right in the beginning. This is a very important time management principle that I always follow in my life. The toughest task, finish it right in the beginning. Does it fall in that category? Yeah, of course. Anything that you postpone means it is important. If you're postponing it, it means you know it is important, but I don't want to give it a priority. That is why we are told the first thing in the morning chant. So that our highest priority is for that, basically. And after that, you do whatever you want to do. Okay, it's been a great pleasure and honor to be with all of y'all. Hopefully, whatever you heard will help you all in your journeys. And if anybody of you all is interested in understanding the mentorship course that I spoke to you all about more in detail, especially those who are working professionals, please let me know and we can get into some more specifics together. Okay. Thank you very much and looking forward to meeting you all the next year I come. Hare Krishna.
How many of you found it very practical? Raise your hand. And how many of you would like to follow some of the things? There are many of them. So I'm sure we all will follow it. Until we can repeat it on. Then this, it knows my name, no, I'm one of the first group. So definitely, very caring, loving, not venture to me, hiding years. How many of you have 19 years of Yeah, amazing. So thank you.
Thank you.
You can meet him in person now. And lunch is going to be served. Thank you. We're ending the call. Online